Okay, we are live, but we shall let it breathe. Just a moment. We got to get Facebook roped in here. We'll get things fired up. So stoked to talk with each and every one of you. And we are good. So welcome in, everybody. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I am your host, Chad Jensen. With me, Scott Kennedy, the producer extraordinaire, co host of the Broncos for Breakfast podcast in the mornings here at MHH. Filling in once again, this time though, Zach, under the weather, hit hard, woke up this morning just leveled by some kind of a nasty bug. So, Scott, pulling double duty once again. Thank you, bro. How are you?
Well, it's always good. I was going to be here anyway, so I just had to shower and shave and be ready to talk some football.
Oh, weird, dude. Weird. Hold
I've
on.
been. Can you hear me?
No, this isn't good. All of a sudden, my sound just, hey, do some pleasantries. I'll be right back. Okay. I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sorry we were late. We were a couple minutes late. As many of you know, Chad has moved here recently, including getting a new computer. And somehow everything hasn't quite synced up with his move since he's gotten there. So he's having some hardware and some problems with the stream. So Chad's hardware is under the weather. Zach's just under the weather. So hey, here I am. And you know who else is here coming in? Jacob Foster coming up with the stars. The silent one coming in with some stars early. So I'm going to say good evening to some folks. It is going to be Chad, I think, and me tonight, Scott Kennedy. So I don't plan on going solo tonight, but if we have to, we will, because I know you can help get me through it, Broncos country. You have done that very many times. So first in, Diamond Rattler came in as soon as the stream was built saying, boom, let's ride. Dylan here as well. Dale here as well. I'm going to bounce out so we don't mess up, and we'll get everybody switched on the right side real quick.
Sorry, guys. I'm telling you, this move that I did, part of why I was gone those 2 weeks, it has thrown off my groove in a big bad way. It's like I've had to get a new mic, had to get a new stream cam, I've had to get new lights. I painted my freaking wall green. Like I've gone to the nth degree to try and get things humming on all cylinders. So appreciate you guys. But hey, you know what? You're rolling with the punches. If there ever, Scott, is a time to kind of do some dial in and tweaks and try and improve things, it's the dog days of July, baby.
It's July. This is when we try and put in the trick plays and
That's right.
The little razzle dazzle. You know who comes in and has been coming in razzle dazzle in the month of July with fireworks? It's Greg Vendeland. I mean, 4th of July is over and he's still popping off hot pink, coming in big again. We've got an update on the super chat users for the month.
I've got that.
And there's going to be some switching again right now. Real quick, Greg had actually moved down after last week because Michaela had come up. We got to scroll up just a little bit. Ethan, the DW.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Sorry.
And Michaela, the Duchess, had come in and moved up to number 2 with Gregory coming in. Again, Gregory's newer. I feel like Gregory's a newer name and coming in off the top rope, coming in guns blazing, announcing his presence with authority. Stu McPeak, one of the OGs, the Zeus, has come back in a big way. Sam Bam, I call you Sam Bam. I know it's BBM, but it's Sam Bam for me. Tanner Hulse, Naj, Jason Bolin, Mike Givens, and Noyes rounding out Jeff Noyes rounding out the top 10. Also coming in, we mentioned the silent one, Jacob Foster, came in, and Phil has also come in with some stars. Very gracious of you, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Good evening, Chad and Scott. Let's ride. But if you hear everybody okay now, and if you can at least hear me, Chad.
Yep, I got you.
I think you wanted to get into our topic of the day, which is kind of around ownership and who might be involved.
That's right, baby. So we heard rumors and reports right after the Walton Penner Group took over early June that they had approached Peyton Manning about possibly being involved. Over the weekend, legendary in the market, Woody Paige, who now, of course, his home is with the Colorado Springs Gazette, he provided some additional context as well as a more clear, kind of solid update on exactly what John Elway's role is with the organization. But first and foremost, we learned that John Elway, Scott, when he didn't have the scratch on his own, of course, to even make a bid. But he hoped that whoever won the bid on the new ownership, that they would be open to kind of parceling him out a minority stake, letting him buy into the team. According to Woody Paige, quote, Elway sought to become a 1% minority shareholder with the winning partnership, but that role appears highly improbable. So Elway now, Scott, he's on a 1-year deal as a consultant, still has an office in Denver, or at the facility, but 1-year deal. Now, what about Peyton Manning? All right, so Peyton Manning, I'm going to read this little snippet here. The Walton Penner Group includes business mogul Mellody Hobson, former U.S. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, who joined last week, and then Peyton Manning, we learned from Woody Paige, a little bit more rock solid, hopefully taking on some sort of a role with the team. Paige said, quote, Peyton Manning is expected to join the alliance, and one of the partners among the losers of the auction bidding could be invited to be a partner. One source says Michael S. Dell, creator of the Dell Computer Company, and a co-partner with Rob Walton in a Hawaii resort development, may participate with the Broncos, close quote. So Peyton Manning, in one form or another, Scott, expected to join the alliance. And I can't help but think, and I want to get your take on this, if you talk Peyton Manning into jumping in with both feet, you probably managed to do that by dangling, as John Elway hoped to garner himself, a little bit of a shareholder stake.
There's numbers and math here that just don't compute to our tiny brains. Gary Lees Palmer coming in with some stars, some big stars, and says, hey, Chad and Scott, can't wait to hear the latest. And Michaela coming in, and she mentions, as on topic, coming in red, the lady in red, the Duchess. She says, honestly, I don't know how Elway and Manning would fit in the ownership. Too many fish. Let's ride. Well, Michaela, thank you so much. Let me see if I can add maybe a little clarity on this, at least how it makes sense to me, because the numbers involved here when you're talking about a sports franchise in the NFL are mind-boggling. You're like, oh, John Elway is just trying to get a 1% share. Okay, that's not anything, right? I mean, that's not really, you don't have a say at the table. You don't have any kind of weight within the organization. 1% is $40 million. $40 million to be a 1%er, to be and not the good 1%. I mean, the bottom 1%, to have a 1% say, which is no say at all. So I think, Michaela, now, hey, we can give you a 0.5% ownership, which is $20 million in equity as your compensation. I want you as part of my team. And honestly, that may be how Condoleezza Rice is coming in. Do you think Condoleezza Rice bought a 10% stake in ownership and came up with $400 million? No. Is she part of the team that the Walton is putting together, the Walton Penner Group is putting together as an advisory group, as a board of directors, so to speak, where maybe they get a slice, a teeny tiny. I mean, when you're dealing with 9 freaking zeros, you lop off 3 of those zeros and get a 1,000th of 10%, and you're a millionaire. You get a couple $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost look at it like that, Michaela, in Broncos country. We say, part of the ownership group. Well, Chad, I'm buying a new house. I need some. I'm going to be dealing with some people, or I'm starting a business. I want you part of it. It doesn't mean I'm giving you ownership, but I want you to come help me run it. You're part of my group. You're my guy. You are my guy. I need you here. Part of the compensation could be a tiny, minute, fractional worth several $1 million of equity ownership that I would then have the option to buy back as cash options, whatever. But you're not just handing somebody, even a legend like John Elway, a 1% stake in the ownership. Say, hey, come be part of this. I can get him for a hell of a lot less than $40 million of 1%. So I almost look at it like a board of directors type of thing, Chad, where I want you to come in here and I want you on my team. I want you as part of my group. I am the owner. That all of a sudden gets lumped into ownership group. That doesn't mean they're owners. This is for multi-millionaires. It's a different level. It's just a different level of wealth.
For what it's worth, John Elway's net worth is estimated to be somewhere between $150 to $200 million. So even peeling off, $40 million, that'd take a big chunk out of his reserves. But he would do it. He would do it in a heartbeat if he could. Michaela's point, and by the way, thank you, Michaela. Love you, appreciate you, seriously. And also a thank you to Gregory and Jacob and Gary and all of you. Appreciate you, love you. You know it. How could Elway Manning coexist? You heard the phrase, too many cooks ruin the broth. Well, it just so happens that you have a guy who's kind of just rocking and rolling, romping through the NFL as your general manager in George Peyton. If the Broncos do what everyone is expecting them to do this year, and that is win some ball games and be a factor in the playoffs, this dude, I mean, just short of winning the Super Bowl, this dude is like going to be about as crowned as you can possibly be, mainly because, of course, he orchestrated the deal that landed Russell Wilson. All right, now you inject. We already know Elway's kind of backed off as a consultant. He's just there to be a sounding board a little bit and kind of smooth the transition for George Payton. Although I view him more, Scott, as a guy that's kind of just for optics purposes, we're keeping you on as a consultant so that fans think that there's someone here with some experience that knows what's going on. Meanwhile, George Payton is just like crushing almost every single move he's made. There's only a couple you can really pick nits in. Where would Peyton Manning fit in this? And that's a real question. I mean, he's so busy with his media company, Omaha Productions. He's got so much going on. I don't envision Peyton Manning, even as an executive, if he were to come in as, say, president of football operations or whatever, how do you budget the time? You still need to be able to come into the facility, contribute to what's going on. You got to fulfill your duty and obligation as a football executive. I see him coming in with some kind of a minority ownership stake, being some kind of an ambassador for the team, some kind of a face, but in terms of the nitty-gritty day-to-day grind, I think it would be great for him to be involved at that high of a level. I just don't know that that's really something he's trying to do. Like, he's living his post NFL playing career life. He's digging all the time he's getting with his kids. He's having fun making media. Just got into the Hall of Fame. Do I want to suddenly go work 40 plus hours a week? I mean, yeah, be in the pursuit of greatness and you're competing, you're back in the competition thing at a different level. I'm not sure how that would work, but either way, if Peyton Manning did return, I don't think it would be Elway and Manning within the organization. Elway would be signing off.
And for the most part, Chad, you're describing six-figure jobs.
Yeah.
You know, the type of stuff. You're getting the Peyton Manning brand. And okay, well, you know what I want Peyton Manning to do? I want to help with corporate sponsorships. Well, you know, he can help me. He could definitely help do that. But you know what? You're the NFL. When the NFL calls and says, hey, Chevrolet, you know, we want your name on as the presenting sponsor of our pregame show, Chevrolet is going to answer. You're the Denver Broncos. It's the NFL. You don't need Peyton Manning for something like that.
Right.
So again, when you're talking about what are they going to do, you know, yes, I would love to have a sounding board, that type of stuff. But again, the day-to-day or, you know, president of football operations, like you said, those are six-figure jobs. Maybe at best, you know, you might be a millionaire. You might make, the general manager is making $1 or $2 million a year. That's the general manager. Anybody else would be reporting to the general manager, and that's not what they do. So again, a board of directors type makes sense to me. Hey, we meet once a month and we have our meeting just to make sure everything's going okay. But then how do you compensate it in that? And just to say, hey, I'm on the board, I'm part of the ownership group. That's kind of a cool thing to be able to say. But again, you're not just slicing off 1%. And would they want to buy in? Hey, I'm going to give up half of my wealth to be a 1% owner of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Now, if you want me to say, okay, you want me to have some skin in the game, so I'm going to put $40 million of my own money in this thing. Well, then I want to run the damn thing. Mm-hmm. I'm in charge now. I'm your football guy. I'm running things day to day.
Who do you think has a higher net worth, John Elway or Peyton Manning? I'm going to Google
it. I think it would be pretty close. I mean, Elway's had more time to do it, but you know, Elway came about when, or Manning came about when the salaries and stuff had escalated exponentially, and media commercials and your ability to cash in on a commercial standard have accelerated. So if Elway is ahead, the line is catching up from Manning.
So the answer is, according to these sites, and you don't know where they get this information, but it's believed that Peyton Manning's net worth approaches $250 million. John Elway's somewhere between 150 and 200. So 250, 300 probably for Peyton Manning. I mean, he played out how many $100 million contracts in Indy? He almost played out
band together and buy 10% of the team. Like I said,
Still
it's
peanuts.
wealth that we it's almost like trying to think how big and how far away the next star is. Well, if I was going the speed of light, I'd get there in 1,000 years. That's insane. Our brains can't comprehend that type of distance. $4 billion with 9 zeros.
Yep.
Yeah, let me see here if I can look behind the couch and scrape together some loose change. Let me see if I can scrape together $500 million for a 10% stake. That's insane.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
It is, especially when you consider how much Pat Bowlen paid to purchase the Denver Broncos back in 1984. Michael Ronquillo, what is good? Our friend down in Tucson, throwing down one of our great Mount Rushmore contributors, Super Chat superstars, Facebook supporter. He says Peyton Manning will be a great addition to the Walton Penner ownership group. He loves the Broncos and Broncos country. Let's ride and go Broncos. Yeah, there's something to that. Like as we know, he keeps a home in Denver, or he's kept his home in Denver since retiring. And although when the Colts come calling and they want him to do something, it's a Ring of Fame day or whatever, he comes and he shows up and he does his thing. But you don't feel that same kind of I'm in it still with you personal connection that Peyton Manning seems to still maintain, cultivate with the Broncos. The Brainstorm, what's going on, dude? It's been a minute. It's great to see you, my friend. Appreciate that super chat. He says, I just wanted to probably say, let's ride. That's the catchphrase. That's the Russ catchphrase. Ben, net worth is not cash on hand either, which is very, very true.
That is very, very true. So we're not talking about, scraping together, $500 million for a 10% stake. We're talking about liquidating everything to scrape together $10 million. And then what would they doing for the Denver Broncos? Everything, because they'd have to live there. Now you've got them all the time. Now they don't have any place to live because they've liquidated all their assets. Now they actually have to live at the stadium because they don't have a home anymore. Like if your kids ever ask, you go buy a Lamborghini or something, they're like, hey, could we get one of those? Like, yeah, we'd have to live in it. We'd have to sell the house, but that's kind of the same thing. So Ben's absolutely right. Net worth isn't what you can afford to part with either.
Mm-hmm.
On something like that for sure. Good point, Ben.
Chris says Omaha Productions, being from Omaha. The first time I heard Peyton yell Omaha, I thought I was tripping. Yeah, I bet that was cool for you. And that reminds me, I coached all my kids in flag football. Once they got to tackle, I was like, okay, go with the guys who are going to make this their full-time job. But the one year I did it, it was like 2014. So we're talking like 3 years now into Peyton Manning's Broncos tenure. And I had the plays, and the kids, they wanted to call the plays based on what they would hear Peyton Manning say at the line of scrimmage. And one of them was hurry, hurry. One of them was Omaha. Oh, I can't remember the other ones, but we had like 4 that were like Peyton Manning names, including Omaha. So anyway, shout out to Omaha and Chris, who is there in Nebraska.
Yep. And Anthony Edwards coming in says, I love the show, guys. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for all you do, Anthony. So I'm just glad the Walton Penner Group are finding people that actually care about the Broncos' future, including them, not just people that care about the money aspect. Go Broncos. Well, Anthony, those things aren't mutually exclusive. So if I'm in business, I want my business to succeed. I might not give a flying flip about the Las Vegas Raiders, but by God, if I just drop, 9 zeros, 5 of them on the Las Vegas Raiders, I want them to succeed. I want the people around the team to be proud to be here. I want my fans to be happy. I want to put a product on the field that is good. So you can be about business and be about product. And it doesn't necessarily have to say about, I'm passionate about the Broncos. Mm-hmm. So those things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. You want people that are competitive and want to win. And there's winning on the field, and then there's winning as a brand, and there's winning as a product. And again, I need both. I want George Payton, the football guy, and I want some people in the front office that understand how to maximize my asset so that I can then invest in the product on the field.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Anthony, dude, are we connected on Twitter? I want to say we have been in the past. If not, dude, make sure you connect with us because we want to be able to shout you out, include you in our post-show shout out to the people who support the show on Super Chat and Facebook.
Real quick, Chad. Chad. I want to hit on Joseph's point right here, just talking about the insanity of the money that is. I can't imagine being made millions of dollars over 17 weeks this season. Sports players make way too much money. I don't necessarily disagree. because I think there's too much money in sports. But I want that money going to the players. I do. I mean, we're talking about 4 point whatever $billion for the asset for the Denver Broncos. Again, we just talked about, okay, if Russell Wilson's making $40 million a year, that's 1% of the net worth of the franchise. You think about, your net worth, including your house and stuff, and what you make and all those type of things, it starts making sense how much money they're bringing in. You let me know the next time one of these owners goes broke in any of these sports. When you start seeing, baseball used to be really good about this, and the writers would carry water for them. They'd be like, oh yeah, they lost $50 million this year. Their idea of losing money was, we made $150 million profit. We only made $100 million profit this year, so we lost $50 million. Yeah, and meanwhile, the net worth of your franchise went up from 1.0 billion to 1.6 billion. So you just made $600 million with $100 million in profit. So there is too much money in sports, and you know who's to blame for that, Chad? We are,
us
as fans, the consumers. We're the ones that watch all the stuff, buy all the merchandise, pay all the tickets, the exorbitant tickets, and do all of these things. So if you ever really want to get upset, if you're ever really too upset about all the money that's in sports, there's only one answer. You got to turn it off. And I don't want to do that. The avenues of watching the games are available to me at a price that I'm okay with. Usually that price is my time to watch commercials. But I don't drop $200 to go to a game. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drop $40 on parking and buy a $20 hot dog. I'm not doing that. No. But I can watch the game for what's included in my exorbitant cable price.
Well, that's where a lot of the money came from. A lot of the money came from the TV deals proliferating over time. And as we know, Pat Bowlen had a big role to play in how that kind of unfolded over that span. And, you take away the NFL the way it used to be. I mean, yeah, there were some TV deals and whatnot, but most of how an ownership group could afford to pay players whatever salary it might have been at the time came through the door. How many tickets were we selling? How many hot dogs? How many Diet Cokes in the stadium? Like, all that stuff is what drove it. And so you had football players who, if they were playing today, would be making $40 million a year, that back then, 70s, 80s are making $40,000 a year. And that was a good living for them. I mean, they were getting their, what's kicked, and it was a very hard, difficult job, and it was finite. It wasn't going to last forever. It's not like it's a career for the rest of your life, but $40,000, and that's where it came from. But as the TV thing started to grow, and what changed there too was the advent of cable, the advent of satellite, and now you got streaming and everything too. I mean, it's just so easily consumable. And we as fans and media, we just love watching this stuff. As Scott was saying, that money, that spigot, that faucet, that fire hose of revenue. I mean, last year, the NFL in 2021 was an $11 billion nut. $11 billion.
They have to put a salary cap on there to constrain. They have to artificially deflate what they're willing to pay the players. They're willing to pay the players more. They have to put a cap on it because the owners won't be able to control themselves because they've got so much money. They'll go and spend more on it because they have so much. So again, there's too much money in sports. Might as well go to the players. That's who I care about.
Agreed. Albert Knoppers, legendary. He says, I read an article today about Russell Wilson having a record year, but the Broncos still finishing third in the division with the Chargers in first, followed by the Chiefs. I agree with Russell record, but Broncos finishing first. I don't know, Scott, and thank you for the comment, Albert. I don't know. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict with any kind of accuracy exactly whether or not the Broncos are going to win the division. As excited as everyone wants to get, remember that it's still Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It's still their division until Russ and the Broncos go out and change that, right? What is it now? I've lost count. Is it 13 straight wins? I mean, I don't.
It's too many.
It's obnoxious. It's obnoxious. Can the Broncos finish one? Yes. Are they going to make the playoffs this year? I really think they will. But Scott, this is what's bizarre. I feel more comfortable predicting Broncos are going to make the playoffs than I am saying they're going to win the division. And especially the way, 7 teams making it nowadays. I think it's a little bit easier to kind of hedge that way. But 3 teams from this division could find themselves in the playoff gauntlet.
Well, you can make the playoffs without winning the division. You can't win the division without making the playoffs. So to say you're feeling more comfortable saying one, that's just logical.
Logic.
But I agree with you. I think even to say I would say I feel more comfortable saying the Broncos will make the playoffs than I do saying the Broncos will beat the Chiefs. Because you can go 0-2 and still make the playoffs. I feel like if you had to say pick one, I'll say I'll take playoffs. Now, I mean, it's 13 in a row, and the Chiefs are still really good.
Yeah.
So I would say you got to pick one of these. Which one's it going to be? And it could be both. You could do both. But if you were to tell me that only one of these is going to happen, which is it going to be? The playoffs. The Broncos are going to win 11 games and make the playoffs, but they can do that by going 0-2 against the Chiefs. Now you go 2-0 against the Chiefs, and you're talking 13-4, 14-3. I mean, then you're talking a special season.
I'm trying to remember when the Seahawks won that Super Bowl against the Broncos, Super Bowl 48. Were they a wild card team? Let me see. No, they were a division round team. Okay, so they won their division.
I was an anti-playoff guy for so long, just because, playoffs are for teams that can't get it done in the regular season. They're second chances. I'm like, well, you're punishing the teams that excel. So the Chiefs were one of those teams, or the Seahawks were one of those teams that made the playoffs with like a 7-9 record. That's absurd. All you're doing is telling me I don't need to watch other teams until the playoffs. Now, fantasy football has fixed that. You don't care if I don't care if the team's 2-14 if I've got the starting quarterback or the running back on that team or one of those players. Now I'm still watching, I'm still engaged. And frankly, Chad, that's another reason why the NFL has boomed like it has, is because the interest is now league wide because of fantasy football. Everybody's a fantasy player.
Yep.
Who's not a fantasy player but is living the dream is Lawrence Rivera, coming in with some stars saying, "Hello guys, I'm out fishing. I'll listen later." Hello, Lawrence. I hope they're biting for you. Throw them back.
Yeah, I hope. That's like my dad says when it comes to fishing. He says, fishing, it's okay. I prefer catching, which I agree 100%. Like, once that thing's on the hook, hey, I'm all for it. But sitting there, man, I have such a short attention span that's very hard for me. Andrew Baker, what's good, bro? He says the sooner the better for a Russ deal, but what should it be and should they wait? That's a good topic. We'll segue because I want to get what Bob wrote projecting Bradley Chubb's next deal. Let's talk about Russ first. What should he get, and should the Broncos wait? Because I'm of the opinion that they don't need to act right now, but the sooner they act, the more they could potentially save a few shekels here and there.
So I think there's going to be plenty of money. Okay. Again, the salary cap's going to go up. There's ways to work around. There's plenty. I could find $30 million of cap room pretty quickly with restructures, waves, all that kind of stuff. Cut players pretty quickly. Money's not going to be a problem. I think it's beneficial for both sides, honestly. We're in a honeymoon phase right now. This isn't even the honeymoon. We haven't even dated yet. This is, I'm excited about, a new date. I'm really excited about that. That's a great feeling. Let's go through a year together before I'm going to drop $250 million on you, and you're going to tie the rest of your career to me. Let's feel it out just a little bit more and make sure this is the right fit. You got 2 years left on your deal, and you're still making a ton of money. You're okay. You're okay with what you're getting paid. I'm okay paying it to you. You got 2 years left in your deal. There's no rush. There really isn't. You might save, and again, it's baffling money. I might save $10 million here or there on a $250 million contract. It's better to get it right. So it could happen tomorrow, but I don't think there's really any rush to get anything done this year, to be honest with you. I think there's good faith on both sides, but let's be sure about it before we get married for the rest of your career and I drop $250 million.
A big part of that too is Russell Wilson. Is he asking for it? Like, is his agent pressing the issue? Are you at risk of not making this? Because you want him to feel that warm and fuzzy. That's a good way to put it. You're in the honeymoon phase. Anyone that's been in that situation, if you've been in a relationship or married, it's like you're walking on cloud 9. Everything's good. You got the warm and fuzzies. You feel You feel good. You feel wanted. You feel needed, whatever, right? Put yourself in that position as a player. You want to feel that commitment. You want to feel that we're in this together. We're behind you. I don't know that Russell Wilson's really doubting that right now, which is probably why it's not, NFL teams rarely, with very, very few exceptions, act unless they're A, up against some sort of a deadline, or B, the player or the person on the other side of the negotiating table is asserting and forcing the issue. Scott, what kind of money is he going to get, though? What kind of money is Russell Wilson in line for?
That's because for the most part, they have all the power. I've got a series of, if I've got a 5-year contract for me, it's basically a 1 year with 4 1-year options in my favor as ownership. The contracts are completely weighted towards ownership here, not towards the player. Now I can also tag you twice. You're 33 years old. You got 2 years left on your deal. I can make you go till you're 37 before you can even go for another contract, and your option is quit. It's not to go play somewhere else. You don't have any other options. You can't go to another country and play and get paid similarly because this is a monopoly. So there is no reason for the ownership to go out and force the issue on this one. Albert says, I believe in the law of attraction. If we believe we can win the division, we might just be a step closer. Oh, I think there's belief.
Dude, hold on. I got to tell an anecdote here. So when I first got out of college, Albert, you probably know this. I'm a big The Secret believer. I'm big on the law of attraction as well. Let me tell you how I became clued into the law of attraction. When I first in fact, I might have still been in college, but I was working at a place. It was a phone job. All right. And this dude I worked with, shout out Brent, we would have these 3-hour lunches. All right. And so you go work for 3 hours in the morning, leave for 3 hours, come back, work 5 hours, because that's when people are home if you're doing like telemarketing, right? So we leave, and this place had hundreds of employees, big campus. So anytime you pulled up to the building, man, good luck finding a parking spot anywhere close to the building. So we come walking out for lunch one day, and Brent's parked like right next to the front door. And I literally had not seen an available parking spot in that since I'd been there. And I'm like, yo, dude, I didn't even really say anything, but we're backing out. And he kind of pauses as he's driving he's backing out of this coveted spot. I can see him kind of like pause, and he's like looking straight at it. And then he proceeds, and I'm like, dude, what was that about? And he's like, the secret, dude, the secret. I said, huh? He goes, dude, I'm sending out vibes into the universe right now, Scott, that this spot is going to be back when we return in an hour. I'm like, no way in Sam Hill is that going to be there. He's like, I'm telling you, I'm telling the universe, this is what I'm asking for, and it's going to deliver it. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So we go, I forget all about it, right? We have our lunch, we drive back. Sure as you know what, there it is, wide open. He pulls right in, and I'm like, okay, tell me about the secret. And he gave me the book, and I read the book, and it's very, very, it's all real, dude. It's all true stuff.
If you've ever played role-playing games, there's characters have their attributes. I always felt pretty good about mine. I'm decent height, size, speed, strength, intelligence, all that kind of stuff, charisma. But the luck score for me was a friggin' 0. It's my luck was a 0. If we're flipping coins and you guess heads or tails, it's not 50-50. If I do 100, I'm missing it 75 times, maybe 80. It's unbelievable. So that works the opposite for me. I'm like, it's gone. It's I'll be lucky not to back into somebody when I'm backing out of that nice spot.
But the doctrine of the secret is that's why your luck continues. Exactly. That's what you're putting into the universe. So that's what the universe is delivering back. But we don't want to digress too much on this philosophy. Just go read the book, you guys, The Secret. It's a quick read. It's easy. I think they made a movie about it. I never saw the movie, but the book's very nice. Anthony, again, big baller, throwing down super chat number 2.
Coming in twice with the brace.
Am I the only one thinking, says Anthony, that bringing Melvin Gordon in to keep some miles off of Javonte Williams was a good idea? I love a 60-40 split with a small fall off on Gordon's carries. Thanks for your perspectives. Guys, I've never been against it. My partner in crime, Zach Kelberman, not a huge Melvin Gordon fan, but he's never been against bringing him back. For me, it was always about, you want to bring Melvin back? Cool. Just do it at the right price, because I think John Elway threw a few too many dollars at Melvin. I'm happy with what they got him back for this time. And I'm, because of that, I'm excited to see what they can do together. Although Javonte, it's hard to figure out what that exact split's going to be, Scott. And I've been asked it on radio hits. I've been asked it privately, colleagues in media that are setting up their fantasy teams. Dude, what's the split going to be on Javonte Melvin? I'm like, dude, I don't know. It's hard to say. It was literally 50-50 last year. Like literally right on the nose.
Each.
Yeah.
It was 203 each. So the split, even at 50-50, is, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Put them both at like 13th in the league in carries. That's still a guy you want to take in the first 2 rounds for the most part. So if you were to go 60%, and I think there's going to be about 25% more offensive plays this year, period. So if I say 400 times 0.125, I end up with 500, okay? 500 at 60% is 300 carries. I know there was going to be there. I was told there'd be no math. 300 carries would put him third behind Jonathan Taylor at 332 and Najee Harris at 307. It would put him third. That sounds about right. I mean, Javonte Williams, 300 carries is still a considerably lighter load than what these guys used to go through. So that's not a huge amount. And no, I think it was a brilliant idea bringing Melvin Gordon back. He's a good running back. And he's an excellent number 2 running back. And the price is right. What are you spending on your running back room? You're spending almost as much on Mike Boone. That's the one that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
You're at about
that is weird.
You're at about $5 million for your, maybe $6 for your running back room. That's
solid.
Great. And it's one of the best running back rooms in the league. Nice work.
Speaking of dollars, all right, this is an interesting topic. Last week, I think Zach's first show back Thursday night, we talked about, hey, here's what the Broncos will do if Bradley Chubb has himself a turnaround year. Okay, well, taking that a few steps further, what kind of contract could he be in line for? And this is from Bob Morris. Go read the article, guys, milehighhuddle.com. Here is the condensed base. And this is a very excellent article where you kind of learn the lay of the land, what the other pass rushers of his caliber, have been garnering the last couple of years. It's a really insightful read. But here's the bottom line, says Bob. Should Bradley Chubb have a quality season, I would expect he'll be in line for at least a 5-year deal worth $90 million or $18 million per year. He could be in line for $35 million in full guaranteed money, which was what Harold Landry got for his extension with the Tennessee Titans. The Broncos should be able to manage a cap hit for the first year of that deal while still keeping Randy Gregory in 2023. When 24 arrives, the Broncos can figure out where things stand with Gregory and the other edge rushers. If Chubb proves worthy of an extension, the Broncos shouldn't have to reset the market to retain him, though they will have to pay him. We need to know whether Chubb can get back to that level of play he's shown in the past, and then we'll have the answers, of course. So that's what he's predicting is right there, Scott. 5 years, $90 million. But what is Brett? So let me put it this way: do you think that sounds right? And if so, what does Bradley Chubb have to produce this year to get that deal?
I think the numbers are okay. I think the guaranteed needs to go up considerably from 35 to about 55. The guaranteed money he got that much as a rookie deal in a rookie deal. Basically, that would be a 2-year deal. It would be a 2-year deal, $35 million. If it was $35 million, it would be a 2-year deal. He's 26 years old. He's probably going to want more guaranteed to do something like that. Now, one of the things that was on the show that I was kind of put in the background, talking about the option to tag him. A tag on him would be $25 million. Okay, it takes the average of the top 5 players at his position and gives you a 1-year fully guaranteed deal. That's about $25 million. A 1-year deal for Bradley Chubb at $25 million would be a premium. It would be expensive for the Denver Broncos. But if he goes out and has a 16-game, I'll give him one off, 16-game, 12 to 15 sack season, I tag his ass, Chad. No question about it. I don't want to get into a bidding war where I'm having to come up with $55 to $60 million of guaranteed money across 4 years when I can give him a premium for 1 year and $25 million. And if he is getting that money out on the open market and his agent is saying, well, listen, the Atlanta Falcons are finally getting Matt Ryan and Julio Jones off their deal, and their pass rush is atrocious. They're offering him 5 years, $100 million with 75 guaranteed. Okay, well, I'm still tagging him. Now I'm going to tag and trade him. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, because his only option at that point is to not play. He has no other options. His option is to play on the tag or to sit out. 2 years because you could tag him again.
Yeah.
So,
dude,
I think the money is good. I would up the guarantee, and I would absolutely tag him if he is in line to get a contract like that.
You need at least one more. Like, even if he goes back to rookie form, 12 sacks plus, whatever, you need one more year before you roll out the Brinks truck because of his history. I'm with you. If he pops this year, tag him. By the way, here's Gary Leeds Palmer saying it's getting deep in here. Just kidding. Love it when you get off track. That's the thing, dude, is, we talk about football, but these topics come up and it springs forth other conversations. And, it'd be boring if the only thing you ever heard from us was like Broncos football. We'd be bored. Sometimes we want to
both
talk.
Very analytical, deep thinkers. Did you ever think about this? Ooh, boom.
GLP, you the man, dude. Hey, speaking of deep analytical thinkers, we got Ron Dubb. And Ron, dude, are you going to be there week 3 again this year for the meet and greet? He traversed the entire fruited plain of these United States to be at the meet and greet last year. And it was great getting to hang with you. Hope we get to do it again this year. He says, with a very generous super chat, you the man, Ron. He says, hey, guys, who will have more yards and more tutties between Williams and Gordon? And then, of course, the receivers, he wants to know. And then looking forward to the meet and greet. Okay, so this is my problem. Half the time I say something and then the answer is already in the suit. If I just read the comment first, I'd be okay. Love that, Ron. Stoked. Okay, Scott, let's get your analytical brain going. Who has more yards and touchdowns between the running backs, and then we'll tackle receivers next?
The receivers. The receivers have more yards because if I were to come up with 2,500 yards and 25 touchdowns out of my running backs, I'd consider that a pretty good year. I'd take that right now without question between Williams and Gordon.
But what he's saying, though, is who has more, Javonte or Melvin Gordon?
Who has more yards and TDs between the running backs, Williams or Gordon? Okay, Williams.
Yeah, I agree.
Williams. Even if Gordon ends up with the touchdowns, because the kid knows how to find the end zone. I mean, it was like 8-3 last year. Yeah. But Williams on that one. Oh, and the wide receivers, Sutton, Patrick, or Judy. I'm going Sutton. I am going Sutton on this, but it might be a different leader for different categories. So I'm going Sutton on yards, probably touchdowns, but I think the touchdowns will end up being pretty close, like 8, 8, and 8, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I think Williams will lead this team in rushing, but Melvin will vulture a lot of tutties from him just because he's so good at that. He's just good. He's just got a nose for the end zone when you get the field shrunk. And coaches, when you get that short, that close, you want as close to a sure thing as you can possibly get. And that's not to say that Javonte is some schlub, because he also, when given the opportunities in the red zone last year, he was good, but that's Gordon's specialty. So I think Williams has more yardage. Gordon has more tutties. I'm going Sutton on yards and touchdowns. And then to me, it's like, hey, Patrick, Judy, who has the most receptions going by category, as you mentioned, Scott. I think Judy ends up with the most receptions possibly on this team if he stays healthy, which is a significant if. If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we all would have that Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun to watch. And that's what makes this team so hard to defend and to predict, and a fantasy player's nightmare, frankly, is the only real sure thing you feel like you've got on offense is Russell Wilson. Mark from Georgia coming in green, says, what's up, guys? Good to see y'all, especially Chad. Especially that guy. Not this guy. That guy over there. How are you, big dog?
What's up? What's up, God King? I'm doing good, bro. I missed you. I have missed your Musk as well. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family is everything's going good on that end of things. Thank you for the super, by the way, Mark. It's great to hear from you. And I'll shoot you a text, bro. I'll shoot you a text. Things are great. Can't complain at all.
Yep. Appreciate you coming in, Mark. Good to see you. Albert asked a question, speaking of like the sure thing from the fantasy perspective, is how many touchdowns do you think Wilson will throw? I mean, 40 springs to mind right away for me. Just 40. Does that sound like too many? Too little? Not enough?
17 games now.
I know. That's 2.5 a game.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at this aggregate.
There were only 3 quarterbacks that threw more than 40 touchdowns last year: Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 were 36 and above. So splitting the difference of those 7 to be a top 8 quarterback, 40 doesn't sound completely out of the question for me, but I'm a little bit more on the conservative side. So I'll say 35. 35. 40 was my my gut reaction. I'll go with 35.
So let's see, 10 years in the league, Scott, and he has 292. So he's averaging just under 30 touchdown passes a season. So is he going to play above average? I think the answer is yes, production-wise. I don't think you're too far off. I think his floor, it'd be easy to just say, 30 tutties is probably like his floor in this offense with this collection of talent.
Yeah, if he doesn't have 30, I'll consider it a disappointment. That's not even 2 a game.
His career high, 40 in 2020. I think he can approach that. Scott. I think somewhere around there is not jumping the shark.
How they're distributed. What would be interesting is can you throw 40 without having a guy in double digits? That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? You talk about spreading the love. You get 5 to Albert Okwuegbunam, 7 to Judy, 8 to Patrick, 9 to Sutton. I'm not that far off already, and I haven't even mentioned the running backs yet.
Dude, it's crazy if you think back to the 2013 campaign and Peyton's 55 tutties. DT 10 plus, Eric Decker 10 plus, Wes Welker 10, Julius Thomas 10. Didn't end there. No Sean Moreno. Now, of course, wasn't receiving, but combined 10 touchdowns from scrimmage. You had 5 guys on offense scored double-digit touchdowns. Is it any wonder that team scored 606 points and remains the highest-scoring team in NFL history?
That's heavy metal football right there. Heavy metal football. Let me see here. We're about 46 minutes. I know we're getting close to wrapping this thing up, Chad.
Yep.
Want to go through a couple, make sure we're not hitting anything that's in the chat too much. Anthony come in with a brace of supers tonight. Says I'm really feeling 36 here with the weapon he has. Yeah, like I said, 40 was my gut reaction. So that's where I would set the over under right at 40. I'd probably take the under. I feel like 35 is a conservative number.
It's going to be
myself in a circle.
It's going to be prolific. Again, I'm getting the weird vibes. I'm getting 2012-ish vibes. Now, Peyton Manning didn't come in year 1 and like totally make all of what he did in Indianapolis look, like it was small potatoes. The next year he did, though. Even 36 touchdowns, which is what Peyton Manning threw in year 1 with the Broncos. I'm going to see real quick, just out of curiosity, how many times in his 14
What year
years,
was that? You said 2015?
2012.
2012, the leader was Drew Brees with 43.
He threw 36 or more touchdowns. Before 2012, he threw 36 or more exactly once. So he immediately had a career year in Denver. The one time, hold on, let me make sure I'm not, oh no. Yeah. Oh no, hold on.
This says 13 is what I'm looking at on NFL.com.
13 what?
2013.
That was the MVP 55 tutties year.
Yes, that's what I was speaking of. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was just trying to think, because not only did he throw 55, no one else threw even 40.
Right.
So there's more touchdowns being thrown now. There was, you just heard me say there were 7 guys with 36 plus. In 2013, the year he threw 55, only Drew Brees threw more than 35. He threw 39. There were only 5 guys that threw more than 30 touchdowns. So touchdowns are a lot easier to come by right now. In this game, the game has changed even just 7-8 years. Plus, there's an extra game.
Dude, think about this real quick. Peyton Manning, if he would have, when he hurt his neck, and the Colts cut him after the 2011 season, if he would have just said adios and he retired, Hall of Fame resume. He was already going into the Hall of Fame. He broke Dan Marino's single season touchdown record in 2004. Okay. So he comes to Denver, year 1. I was wrong. It wasn't 36. It was 37 touchdowns. That was already the second most he had ever thrown in his career. So he had nearly a career year. You take out that one outlier season where he did break Marino's single season. That was his best, most productive year in terms of touchdowns. Yardage didn't quite come close to some of his, 4,700 in 2010. That was his career high. So he came 41 yards short of his career high. So what am I getting at here? What I'm rambling about is I'm getting the 2012 vibes with Russell Wilson and Peyton Manning and that kind of mile high magic. I think Russell Wilson, if his career high in tutties is 40, I think he's going to get there. He can get there. I feel very optimistic he will get there. His career high, Scott, in yardage was his 5th year, 2016. He threw for 4,219. I think he'll eclipse that.
I think
he'll eclipse that.
Blow by that. I mean, it's even if you say what's 280 times 17.
Don't ask me, dude. I don't math.
4,760. 4,700 is the target. I want 4,700 yards this year.
Guys, we're gonna get out of here. We love you. We appreciate you. This has been a fun conversation. I want to remind everybody, Phil. So I see an average of 24 points per game. Russ could hit 47 tutties. Give Manning an extra game, 58 tutties. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
He would have had to have less than his average to only end up with. He was averaging more than 3 per game to get 55 in 16 games. He was averaging almost, 3.5. So
yeah,
he would have been a shoe-in. Might have had 59. Round up.
Guys, tomorrow. Wait, no Broncos for breakfast on the Bright, right? That doesn't start till training camp-ish?
Yeah, probably preseason.
Preseason-ish? Okay.
Yep.
But, so we'll be back with the Mile High Huddle podcast tomorrow night, of course, Zach and I. Zach is going to be back on his feet. But tomorrow we debut the Mile High Huddle show on Mile High Sports Radio, 98.1 FM, Denver Radio. That's at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Just as I said that, realized someone asked me, is it going to be on Sirius? Can you find it on Sirius? I don't know. I need to find that out. As soon as I started talking about it, I remembered that. But there is an app. If you miss it live, if you're in Denver and you miss it live, it's all good. They put up clips and they put up on demand. You can listen to the whole show. It'll be Kelvin and I doing our thing for an hour. And we're going to do that every day, 5 days a week from now until, the cows come home.
That's
a lot of Chad and Zach. Yeah, gear up because it's about to be. We promised you there's going to be more content coming. Now it's not necessarily right here on Mile High Huddle, but it's going to cross pollinate, and we're going to make it easy for everybody to find those shows once we cross that bridge. So look forward to that tomorrow. And then Scott, dude, it's always fun talking shop with you, my brother. Thanks for making time.
Yeah, I'm sorry Zach was under the weather, but I'm flattered that he reaches out to me to sit in for him, and that it's okay with all y'all. So I have a good time on this show and appreciate being here on Sunday evenings.
Guys, connect on Twitter with this Mile High Huddle podcast. It's still at Huddle Up Pod, our main account for all things Denver Broncos and MHH at Mile High Huddle. Go to the merch store, huddleuppod.com, get a t-shirt, get a hat, get a little something, another way to support what we're doing here. Like the main Facebook page for the podcast at Mile High Huddle Pod on Facebook. All right. And then don't forget, we're seeing them every day coming in. We love it. We appreciate it. Those of you who take the time to do this, go to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review for your favorite MHH podcast. Maybe it's not this show. Maybe it's Broncos for Breakfast. Maybe it's, Mile High Insiders. Whichever your favorite show is, go leave us a 5-star review and enter yourself into the drawing we do each and every month. Travis Weber won it last month. It could be you this particular month of July. So go take care of that. Even if you're not an Apple user, maybe you're one of the great unwashed Android users like myself, you can still find a way to go review on Apple Pods. And then don't forget to subscribe, like, share. Scott, love you. Appreciate you. We'll see everybody tomorrow.